partition. That's not even talking about God and man. That's like Maurice just pointed out.
But
Thank you for doing that.
Right,
but he's talking about between Jews and Gentiles, and that has nothing to do with God.
Okay.
He's talking about because the Jews thought we're so great, we're the ones God gave the law to, and they didn't see God gave them the law to reveal the goodness of God to everyone, and that they were supposed to tell everyone about the goodness of God. They created enmity. In fact, that's why Isaiah said, "Sing, O ye that were barren." And I preached about this a while ago, but God, we get this so confused. We think God's chosen people as if all the other people aren't also God's people. We talk about Jewish people after the flesh that way. But what God did was he said, all people are my people. But I need to do something to reveal myself to them. And the only way I can do that is through people. Because they're people. So he said, which group of people can most accurately express, or that I can most accurately demonstrate my spirit of grace through? And then he looked around and he found the strongest of all people?
No.
The most beautiful of all people?
No.
The smartest of all people?
No.
No. He found the least of all people. Because that would confound the wisdom of man.
Yes.
It would confound the spirit of works. And it would reveal the spirit of grace. Because man would say, how is it that the least of all the people is shining like this? Oh, it must be God. See, it was supposed to glorify God. God gave the law to Israel because he wanted them to rest in him. And when they rested in him, it was going to make them a city on the hill. And then the people would say, how is the least of all people a city on the hill? And then they would say, oh, it's because they rested in God. And that would cause all people to glorify God. But Israel didn't do that. They tried to attain to righteousness through the law. And so they weren't a nation of kings and priests like they were supposed to be. They created enmity. And that's why Isaiah says, sing, O ye that were barren. Who was barren? Israel. Why were they barren? Because they were supposed to receive the Gentiles as the fruit of God's righteousness. But they didn't express the righteousness of God towards the Gentiles. And so they were barren. They didn't inherit the Gentiles. And so Isaiah comes and now says, sing, O ye that were barren, because a son has come forth from Israel after the flesh, and he has entered into God's rest, and he was made a city on the hill. He was crucified on a hill. And love poured out of him, and he shined, and all the people said, what is it that can make this guy love like that while people are killing him? God. It glorified God. And now the Gentiles saw that and entered into his rest. And so he inherited the Gentiles. And now Israel can sing because they're not barren. Right?
Wow.
You see how that works?
Wow.